public announcement. Will you please join me in a salute to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
The
America,
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will Secretary call the roll, please?
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Here.
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Gaffney?
Here.
Mrs. Crock?
Here,
Mr. Ray?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mr. Toppin?
Here.
Mr. Taylor? Mr. Salvaggio?
Here.
Councilman Schindler?
Here.
Mayor Francis?
Here.
And Mr. Gilbert is not here.
Mr. Taylor.
Oh, there's Mr. Taylor. He just got in. Okay, the only one not here is Alan.
That's it.
Okay, we have one continued application tonight and two new applications. Yes.
Minutes. You have to
Is
do the minutes first.
there a motion to approve the minutes of July 20th, 2021?
I'll make that motion.
Hang on one second.
second,
Hey, Danielle,
Yeah.
just note me entering the meeting. I came in during Besthorn, the first part, not during the second application. So just note that.
Okay. Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
yes,
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Abstain?
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yes.
No.
Okay, the first application is a continued application, Duran Project / Lola's Restaurant, Block 70111, Lot 1, 300 Lakeside Ave. Do we have someone from Lola's?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's Burton Heffley, attorney for the applicant.
Okay. All right, Mr. Heffley, just let us know what you'd like to do.
Okay,
Mr.
so,
Heffley, just a second. This is a use variance type application. It's not permitted, so in the zone. So it is just going to be the Class 4 members participating. Okay?
And
Go
we
ahead,
need-
Mr. Heffley.
We need
I'll
7,
recuse.
correct?
What?
We need 7 for the vote, correct?
No, we don't need 7.
Okay.
The applicant's entitled to ask for 7, but we don't need 7. We just need a quorum. We just need
Okay.
4.
Use variance, you need 5, no, Bill?
What?
You need 5 on a use?
Well, yeah, you need 5. You need 5 affirmative votes. Right.
I'm going to recuse myself, Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself also.
so Bill, what do we have left in terms of voting members?
We should have, Danielle, how many we have? We've got 6, I think.
6, and then we have 3 alternates that are present.
We got a full house.
Good. Plenty of voting. Very good. Okay, so again, it's Burton Heffley on behalf of Lola's Restaurant with regard to a minor amendment with regard to their restaurant that's located on Lakeside Avenue, Northwood section of town. Now, specifically what the applicant is proposing here is relatively straightforward. We'd like to relocate the dumpster for the restaurant, and as part of that, we'd like to relocate one parking space associated with that dumpster relocation. And we're also applying to maintain a temporary roof structure over an outside deck dining area. That's the application. Before we start with the application, I'd like to address, for the board's purposes, some parking and traffic concerns that have come up with regard to this property and that the neighbors have voiced. And I think it's important that we sort of bring the board up to speed with regard to what we're doing. This application is not about parking traffic, not part of it, but the owners recognize the problem. We are to deal with that in a number of ways, and I think that's important for the board to understand that. And with regard to those parking concerns, we've made some modifications to the property. Our employees are now parking off-site. We've hired a valet service to help implement better logistics in terms of the parking. We're waving off cars when the restaurant is full. And we're really trying to address these parking concerns. And also, I think it's important for the board to recognize we anticipate another application to the board in fairly short order with regard to this parking and an approval for a valet service and their parking logistics, and they want to do that to address concerns. It's going to require another amendment to this in terms of the valet. Not approved now, but it definitely improves what's going on out there. And it's the applicant's position that they want to do whatever they can to address those concerns, both for the town and for the neighbors. And we're going to continue to do that. So we're working on that valet application right now. And once we're done with this one, that should follow closely on the heels. So that being said, I think we're back to the current application. The dumpster, the parking space relocation, and the deck covering. So our witnesses tonight are Carlos Duran and our architect, Lende Myers. So I think we can have Carlos Duran put on some testimony from him.
Mr. Duran, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Duran, how are you related to the application?
I'm one of the property owners for Duran Project 1, which is owner of the property.
Is that an LLC, and are you a managing member?
Yes, I am. It's LLC.
Okay.
Okay, Carlos, you're fully familiar with all aspects of operation out there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're proposing to relocate the dumpster and that one associated parking space. Can you just read to the board briefly why we're proposing to relocate that?
Well, ever since we took over the property, we've been having a hard time getting a dumpster company, a disposal company to get the disposal. None of the companies want to come because of the hill going down. I guess they're scared because of the trucks. So that's pretty much the main reason we want to change it from where, it's on the site now to where we're proposing to put it up there and where it's site plan.
Okay, so I guess it's safe to say that we're relocating it for safety reasons because the hill and the dumpster company not wanting to navigate.
That's correct.
Right? Okay, and so we're proposing to move it up into the left-hand corner of the property up there, and that location works for the dumpster company.
That's correct.
Okay, so they've taken a look at the better location, and they're okay with that. Now, in order to locate the dumpster up there, we're going to basically push it into the hill a couple of feet and relocate it up there. Do you see any problems with the location in terms of pushing the dumpster to the hill? Do you see any detriment as a result of that, either to the property or to the neighbors or to the municipality? Any negative impacts?
Me myself, I do not. I see that's a really good option for the dumpsters to be relocated, and hopefully we could get that approved. So so we could actually even put a fence to block it off, so it won't be it'll be inserted into the bush there, and it'll be nice and be looking nice and neat.
Okay. Fine. I think that just for the board's purposes and based on Rand's testimony, I think that putting this dumpster up there into the hill, very minor cut into the hill, but the property, as you can see in the testimony, due to its steepness and the particular topography, it really falls squarely within the hardship variance criteria for a piece of property just because of its uniqueness and its slope. So any variances that are required in terms of slope, I don't know that they are, but because it's such a minor defect, if required, I would submit to the board that the benefits of locating that dumpster up there outweigh any detriments. I don't think there are any detriments at all to locate there, but there is a lot of benefit not having a dumpster rolling out of control down the hill trying to navigate emptying where it is today. I think probably the right time to briefly talk about Mr. Rushdie had a comment in his letter with regard to that dumpster location, both of which we can affirmatively address. He had wanted to know what the hut block wall was, and I can tell you that that's approximately 6 feet. Put that on the plan. And he also wanted to be breaking for the stone wall removal that's going to take place as part of that dumpster relocation, and we have no problem showing him that either. So with regard to both of the engineering comments, we can address. Carlos, let's talk a little bit with you about the covering proposed. We're proposing an enclosure over the existing dining deck. And could you review for the board why you would like to have that and that part of the operation, how it will benefit customers?
So one of the main reasons we would like for that to get approved as well is the weather here at the lake, changes very quickly, and we have a lot of people that come to dine, and all of a sudden, weather comes, rain comes down, and it's with wind, and if we put umbrellas or anything else besides what we're trying to propose, it's not safe, and it doesn't cover the people that are dining the right way.
So you think that the covering is the best alternative versus umbrellas or anything else to get them out of the element?
I believe so, yes. We tried umbrellas, and the wind blows them away. Sometimes it's almost, almost hit somebody, and we feel like, that doesn't work. So I think what we're proposing is it's a good alternative.
When do you propose to use this deck covering here? What time of year? How are we going to utilize this? I mean, you're not open in the middle of the winter, but when would you be utilizing it?
I mean, we're open all year round, but as long as the weather's permitting, not freezing temperatures, that's when we would like to use it. People like to enjoy their outdoor dining experience, and as long as the weather's permitted, we would like to use it.
Okay, so I mean, you're open all year round, but that deck probably is not going to get used in the winter, right?
Yeah, once the winter comes, the cold weather, freezing temperatures, nobody wants to sit out there now.
Okay, so we wouldn't be utilizing it in the winter during that time frame, but I think, is it correct to say that we'd want to keep the structure up, we just wouldn't be utilizing it?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to have some more testimony from the architect also with regard to the deck structure, but that's all I have for Mr. Duran, if the board has any questions.
Bernie, would it be possible
What is
yeah, Bill, I just thought it'd be productive to actually show the site plan, show what you're proposing, just for the general public, so that if someone is here listening in, they can actually see the plan.
Well, I can. So here's the point: our engineer is fortunately not with us, so I don't have him to share the plan. However, I think we can accommodate it through the architect. He has a plan that we can utilize to talk through, and let me ask Mr. Matos to put the plan. Melende, can you do that?
You're muted.
Oh, God. Very scratchy.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yep, we've got you. So thanks for putting that up. So this is not the engineering plan. This is the cover sheet of the architectural plan, which was submitted to the board. Now, the architectural plan doesn't show the dumpster enclosure. I'll speak off the plan, and I think it'll help the board. So if you take a look at the plan, basically in the center right side of the plan, you'll see where it says dumpster and recycling area. And that's basically on the right side of the plan, sort of in the middle. Can you guys see that?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's where the dumpster is currently and recycle area is currently located. And that, that dumpster is going to now be relocated into the top left corner of the plan. And that's shown on the engineering plan submitted to the board. And that's where it's going to be located. It doesn't show on this plan, it's the architectural plan, but it's going into the top left corner where basically it says edge of pavement. That's exactly where it's going to be located. And it is, and you can see that, board members can all see that on the submitted engineering plan.
And I think if you scroll down a little bit more to give this picture of the building, go the other way, I think people can get a pretty good idea of the roof structure. Keep going, take the drawing and go down.
Yeah.
I mean, the picture is a nice, the side picture of the building. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
There you go.
There you go, right there. That will give a pretty good idea of what's going on there.
Right, and Mr. Chairman, this picture and these plans, the architect is going to speak to this because it's his plan, and he's going to speak to the covering specifically. I just want to try to show the board. I mean, the dumpster relocation is pretty straightforward. I just wanted to use this plan to show where we're putting it in that top left.
Okay.
So we'll use this plan for the architect as our next witness.
Okay. Are you ready to move ahead with the architect now?
Move ahead with the architect.
And Mr. Heffley, your architect's name again is?
Allende Matos. And we can have him sworn and then I'll qualify him.
Okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And your full name again?
Sure. It's Allende, A-L-L-E-N-D, as in David E. Matos, M-A-T-O-S.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Matos, would you just briefly give the board the benefit of your educational and professional background?
Absolutely. I am the principal of AM Architect Studio. I have a bachelor's of architecture from NJIT. I've been practicing architecture for over 25 years. I am licensed, currently licensed in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. All my licenses are in good standing. I am a member of the American Institute of Architects. I am also lead accredited professional, and I have given expert testimony in numerous boards throughout New Jersey. That's pretty much it.
Okay, so we would submit Mr. Matos as our expert in architecture, if it pleases the board.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Matos, you produced the plans dated March 12th, 2021 that we submitted to the board as part of the application, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So let's, we have those plans up on the screen. Thank you very much. Let's review with the board exactly what we're proposing in terms of that covering.
Sure. So I will first note that I have a total of 3 drawings. They are T001, which is the title sheet. The next sheet is A00100, A100, which shows 2 levels of the ground level of the restaurant, which is for reference only, below the deck that's in discussion, and the partial floor plan of the outdoor deck. I also have sheet A101, which shows a section detail, construction of the deck, existing construction, a rear yard elevation looking from the lake, and then a right side and left side of the deck structure. So those are the drawings I have prepared. I will move up again to the title sheet, which is T001, where I have included a picture of the restaurant that you can see here, a survey prepared by a professional surveyor, and I have highlighted in gray the area that we are having a discussion about and hopefully getting approval on for the temporary structure.
Allende, with regard to the picture that's on the architectural plan up top there, as the chairman pointed out, I think, is it fair to say that the left side of that is a very accurate depiction of the structure itself, because it already exists. So we're able to take a picture of it, and that, what you see as a roof structure on the left side there, that is basically the covering we're proposing, right?
That's correct. And so this is the day we went out there to measure. And I am going to zoom in and out so you have a better view. I know the picture is not as big, but I will zoom in and out, and you'll see that the drawing will disappear for a little bit. So just bear with me. So this is a closer view. I hope you all can see of the side from the parking lot. And the structure as you see it right now, it's what I depicted on the drawings, which is a deck that's existing with post support and a polycarbonate corrugated roof structure over a wood frame structure. And so that is the structure that we're looking for a variance on. So if I move back to the site plan, I just want to highlight so that you can see in relation to, one, the dumpster area, which is right here, as Mr. Hefeli had indicated, and the new location where this number 2 is, edge of pavement, would be the location for the new dumpster, and then the structure is down by the water, the wood deck structure. So we have highlighted that. So that entails the site plan. We have also provided a breakdown, which the engineering drawings also have, of the zoning data. This is the only area where it's a B1 zone. And I have shown the lot requirements and the existing conditions here. And you can see we have, existing non-conforming. Nothing is changing on the structure. It is as is right now. So it's an existing condition. So I've also prepared, as I said before, a partial plan of the area below the deck, so you can see the support that is existing and the stairs that take you up to that level. And once you get up to that level, that's the other partial plan, which shows where the outdoor seating is. And so these railing here depicts the edge of that roof structure above. And this is indoors, the indoor dining area. This door gives you access to that outdoor area deck, and then you have a means of egress here down to the parking lot. Also, I have, as I said before, I have provided the rear elevation. So you can see the area below where there is a bar. Here are the stairs that come up to that deck. And then here is the temporary structure that we're proposing, that is supported on post. Everything else is existing, everything else is as is. This is a section, and I'm gonna zoom in so you have a closer look. This represents the existing deck, the glass railing, and here's the post that is supporting the existing temporary polycarbonate corrugated roof. I have also two elevations. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you have a better view, so just bear with me. So this is looking from the opposite side of the stairs. And just to remind you, this is all open air above the existing roof structure for the main dining hall inside. That's all open as well. So air flows through. And obviously on the perpendicular to this is also open. This is the other side from the stair access. So this dark line here represents the parking lot. You go up to that level. And again, this is all open. So it's essentially one plane, one surface that we're looking to get approved here.
Melinda, all open air, right? And open air and open views to the lake, basically.
That's correct. That is the attractive part of this project. It's a beautiful view, and my client, Mr. Duran, did not want to obstruct any of it. He just wanted to protect the clients and the diners. When you have light rain, when you have inclement weather, they still have the ability to sit out there and enjoy the view, which is beautiful when it rains and when it's sunny. So
now, when you were out there, you obviously took a look at the structure also, and just from an architectural point of view, the structure as it's built today, is it fair to say that it is properly constructed and safe for the patrons and constructed in accordance with the code?
It is. It is adequate, and it meets the code. I have, if you look at the section, I have added two 2x6 header on the top and bottom for better bearing support of the roof members. I wanted to do that just to be extra cautious. So I am showing, if you read, you'll see that it says new 2x6 beam header. You have one on one side, and so I sandwich the post to have another one on the opposite side, just to give it a lot more rigidity. But the structure as it is right now, it is safe as a temporary structure. I don't have any concerns.
So,
Okay.
4x4s in the front, they're already existing?
Right. So these were existing.
And how are they tied back to the structure?
They're bolted to a triple 2x10s that the existing deck has.
Okay. What was the purpose of those posts prior?
I couldn't tell you. My first time visiting the site, it's when this structure was already there. So I don't know why they were there before. Perhaps for wind. Maybe there was a clear panel or something like that for wind purposes, because perhaps napkins and things can fly off, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you why they were there.
Back over the existing roof, it shows existing 2x4 wood posts bolted with metal boot. Those are sticking up right now too at the base of that roof. Existing. Right there. That's up there right now.
That's there right now, exactly. This is there.
And
so the only thing I did, you'll see that everything is existing. This is existing up. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What was the purpose of that? Why was that there?
I have no idea. I don't know why that was there.
When
I went to measure the site, the structure was there as it is. The roof was there, the 2x6 were there, the polycarbonate, everything was there. The only thing that I have added is you see these 2x6, new 2x6 beam headers. The only thing I've added, we had one outside and we had a flat 2x4. And here also we have an X61 and a flat. And I added that one for extra, lateral support. So everything else was there. Everything
So
else.
that's a 500 square foot roof. How is that polycarbonate removable?
So it
Why
is
is it
it's screwed on right now. You
From the
just
top?
have to, huh?
From the top?
From the top. So you would have to remove it from the top, yes.
But you call it temporary. Please define for me what you mean by temporary. Does that mean it comes down?
Correct.
Back up?
So the idea is for the months that the weather permits, approximately April to approximately beginning of November. The polycarbonate roof, it's polycarbonate is clear, so you get some sunlight in there. It would be to protect you from the rain, but then it would come down. The structure will remain, but the polycarbonate panels themselves will be unscrewed, stuck away, and so it will be open because the deck will not be in use because it's too cold.
What about
so when the spring comes? I'm sorry.
What about the snow load if it doesn't come down? If it's
No,
supported to
it's got to. It would come down. The polycarbonate. It's there for spring to November. I mean, if we have a storm in October after having a nice day, then the snow load will be an issue. But the idea is that the polycarbonate panel that holds rain and snow and ice would come down around the end of October, beginning of November, and then would be put back in April.
That's a lot of holes in the roof. That's going to deteriorate those roof joists in the winter.
I mean, they are attached to the 1x2 fairings. I would recommend those come down every winter. And again, it's not a structure that is meant for permanent use. It is, again, for temporary use. It's been working great so far.
Did it go up?
I'm sorry?
When was it put up?
I don't know. I think that's a question for the owner.
And how often has it been up and down since it's been up?
So let's have Carlos answer that. I believe it went up at the beginning of this year. It's never come down. But Carlos, can you give us the answer to that?
Yeah, it was, we put it up last summer, about, I would say August of last summer. Has it came down? No, it hasn't came down.
So it's been up since last August. It was actually up through the winter, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So it was up through the winter, it was up through the snowstorm, it was up through all of this last very snowy winter.
That's
Well,
correct.
it's not temporary.
In other words, what's up there?
So anyways,
We show the reinforcement for what was put up last year. So where it says existing to approve this would more or less be, it's new to this. What is this application? Correct.
Correct.
yes.
Okay. So everything that's existing there, I don't know. Again, my question goes back to how is that 2x4 tied into the roof? So I know it's structurally sound. I don't.
Well, I think, Carlos, I believe you had the building inspector of the municipality out to look at this. Is that correct?
I think he took like a brief look at it, inspected it, and architectural wise, I don't think so. I think that's why we're here. I don't know. We need to put in a permit so they could come and take a look at it. But that's why we're here, because it was put on. We did not know at the moment we were supposed to have a permit, which it came to our attention we did. But like I said, that's why we're here, and we're trying to present this and for it to you know, be,
So the building inspector is going to come out and take a look at this and probably take a look at these construction plans to make sure that this is in order, right?
that's correct, yes.
Yes, but
Absolutely.
the architect, the fact the structure that's there before he worked on it, even though he's adding a few things, does he back how it's bolted in, erected prior to him putting the, well, I guess it's all prior. It's all
That's
there.
correct. So, yes. So I wouldn't be here if I didn't look at that post, make sure it didn't leak, and it's sitting actually on top of a bearing wall. There's a header on that wall. Those posts are sitting on top of that exterior bearing wall. Yeah, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think the structure was adequate as a temporary structure. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it through the winter because you don't know, it's unpredictable what kind of snow load you're going to get. But as I have testified, as a temporary structure, I'm more than confident with this structure. So,
so shouldn't we be treating this as what the application is, a temporary structure, and we have to deal with what's on the application?
I don't see it as a temporary structure.
It was up for a whole year.
You're taking.
I get that. I get the previous installation of it, but his application right now is to get approved for a temporary structure.
It's the whole thing encompassing because that wasn't permitted in the first place.
Well, I get that. But what he's got in front of us now is the approval for a temporary structure.
But that's not what it is. It's not. It's already been built. In fact, I would take what you're quantifying it as, but there's a lot of stuff that was existing because it wasn't existing with a permit. It was existing because it was put up without one. So the whole
I would say if the board was to act favorably on this application, all these plans would have to be submitted to the building department. Every aspect of that job is going to have to be inspected through the building department, and the architect is going to have to sign off on that.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, and we completely agree with that as a condition of the approval, and we would
I lost Mr. Heffley.
I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, I think you're absolutely correct that this would have to get reviewed by the building department. Construction would have to get reviewed, and that's absolutely what we would expect to happen, and that's absolutely something that could be a condition of any resolution, and we're fine with that.
I mean, I think there might have to be some changes, like on those 2x6 beam the headers that are carrying it. They might have to be treated lumber or something because they're going to be exposed to the elements when you take that polycarbonate off of there for the winter. So
no, I think that's absolutely correct. But the construction aspects of this, I mean, we would leave that to Bill to take a look at all of that and make sure it's correct. I mean, we're planning aspect of it, but I mean, you have a very good construction department in town that's going to look at this and tell us what we can and can't do, and is going to come out and inspect it and make sure that we did it properly. And if he wants other materials, we'll most certainly agree to do that.
Okay.
As a condition of approval, would we include that the roof of the structure must be removed from the months of November through March? If you're calling it temporary, it's not temporary right now. You've had it up for a full year. That's not temporary.
No, I understand, but
would a condition of the approval, would the owner accept the fact that it has to come down for a certain period during the winter to be classified as temporary?
I understand that, and if that is the pleasure of the board that this should come down, we're okay with that, and that's why we made the application as a temporary structure, so that we would take it down, from November through March, and only have it up October through April. So we have no problem with the temporary aspect of this because it is a temporary structure. Sure, we'd like to keep it up all year, but you know what? It's not built for that, really. So sure, it made it through the winter, but this application is clearly for a temporary structure, and we would remove it during the winter months.
Well, I would think that's a good idea to remove that because snow load, I mean, on what you got there, if you get a good heavy snow, I don't feel comfortable with that. So I would say probably from November, whatever, 1st to, I mean, we can
April.
Narrow down the date, and then we'll go from there.
Yep, that's fine.
My question is how it attaches to the roof and the existing roof when they put that up. I'd like to know what that detail is. You might lay it on a bed. Did they rip that whole roof up when they did that and frame around it and reseed it? Re-put the roofing back? Just curious.
Well, it appears to me like the architect doesn't have any idea how they did that, but somebody's going to have to take a look at that. The building department, the architect, somebody's going to have to make sure that that's done correctly.
Right.
So just for the record, I looked at the detail. Structurally, it is sound. I would love to see to see what's underneath. Structurally, it is sound because it's sitting on top of the exterior bearing wall. The project has not leaked either, but we can, through the inspections and through the building department inspection, we can definitely appease the building department to make sure that it's not leaking and it's sitting on it properly.
Let me add to that, Mr. Chairman. The applicant would be willing to implement any additional modifications that your building inspector would request or require.
Well, you're going to have to do that anyway. That's nothing that doesn't exist. We're going to, if this is approved, it'll be made conditional upon issue of building permit, inspections and approval, and removal of the roof structure from, we're talking about November 1st to March 31st.
Correct.
Okay.
My one objection is the fact we call everything that's been put up without a permit, we call it existing. It was approved. It was not approved. It should not be existing on the drawing. Here. That is an element that does not exist. It's not there prior. It's new.
And it'll have to be expected as such then, Bob. I mean, that's the whole force of it. He's got to come out, he's got to get a permit on it, and it's got to be inspected as such. So whatever's there, he's going to have to inspect. Whether it was there as he built it or was there 10 years ago, it's there.
I mean, listen, we deal with a lot of things they come before the board after the fact, so they have to make everybody happy. They have to comply with whatever rules. It's basically starting from ground zero, and everything has to be inspected that was done already. And if it's not right, then it has to be fixed.
That's right. That's it.
Take off the word existing. That's all I'm saying. Anything that was built without a permit, take off the word existing. That's how it should read, period.
Will Bill Dunigan be responsible for following up on how this thing was put together and everything is done right, or how do we?
He's got a permit on it, Bill. If he's got a permit on it, he's going to have to get it inspected. So he can't clear the inspection he can't clear the permit without that.
Bill O'Connor.
Yes, Bill O'Connor will be the.
Bill O'Connor?
Yes, he's the building inspector.
Yeah, I know that.
Yep.
But from a board's perspective, do we have somebody from the board that will be checking to make sure it's done?
Guys, we are not a regulatory board. Keep that in mind. We are here to approve this land use permit. We are not regulatory. We're not. We have a building department that comes under UCC code. That's why we have them there, is to inspect and assure that it's built to code.
There may be violations in the sense that there was apparently no building permit issued and no approval. There was no zoning permit applied for or issued. So the applicant is at risk of sanctions from either the zoning official or the construction official or both. So it would behoove the applicant to move this process very quickly because the use of that deck could be in jeopardy until this is all resolved. There's no permit to have that roof there now. So, and this is the season that where you want to you make your year. So I would strongly encourage the applicant to address this immediately with the construction official.
Yeah, Mr. Haggerty, we were just waiting for this board meeting to see the result, and we would obviously, on the heels of this, immediately make an application for a permit, or in the alternative, take it down. We don't want to do. So, but you're right that we have to do one or the other very quickly because it is an open issue, and we want to get it addressed too. So that's why we're here. And on the heels of this, we would make an immediate permit application, have Mr. O'Connor out there, have him take a look at it, and any other modifications he would want, we would implement immediately.
Well, that sounds good. Is there any questions of the architect from any of the board members?
There was Mr. Chairman, you brought up a point regarding the fact that an architect would need to sign off on this. And, you know, considering that the architect today has not seen how that has been put together, I would expect that somebody would take a good look at this and make sure that it was tied in properly. There's a lot of people that go to that restaurant, God forbid, we get a high wind and that's not constructed properly, not tied in properly, and that roof collapses. That would be a bad thing.
Oh, I totally agree. Listen, the building inspector will go over that structure with a fine-tooth comb, and if something's not right, he's going to make it right.
Or it's not approved, or they don't get a permit. Simple as that.
That's it.
And then, as Mr. Haggerty puts out, we got some issues to deal with what's there already. So that turns on another switch.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that, you know, the construction department, they have an issue to stop work order or stop, issue ticket for this if you're allowing people on the deck with this roof?
That's a question for Bill, John. I think that's a question that has to be rolled up to him.
Yeah, because just make the point to the applicant. I'm going to question that to Bill, and you should have architectural plans ready to go and being submitted to the construction department to get these permits. And in fact, you probably should have submitted them already so that Bill is just waiting for this board to approve it from a zoning perspective so it can be stamped approved. So you should be all over this.
I couldn't agree more, John.
And again, that word existing taken off the document.
There is if I'm not mistaken, there's a procedure though that you're not supposed to submit any drawings for the building department until the board votes, and if they vote affirmatively, after the resolution is memorialized, it's when the permits have to be submitted to the building.
Perfectly right.
No, the permit process is that you don't build it until you get a permit. That's the process.
That we agreed 100% on. Very smart comment. Very smart comment. We agree on that, but we are past that point. We're past that point, I believe.
Again, we're crossing the line, regarding building permits versus the board's mandate of reviewing this in the sense of a zoning. But this you should have this in with the construction department already. And in fact, you shouldn't.
But we legally can't do that. You haven't voted.
Whatever. You can do that.
You can do that?
Yeah, absolutely, you can do that.
Okay, understood.
Allende.
Yes.
Can I look? Let me just step in here for a second, because I understand Mr. Rushke's concerns and the board's concerns, and he's absolutely correct. The point of the matter here is that these plans we can put the plans in immediately. You have done the plans already. They're in your office. We can submit the plans and the permits immediately upon action of the board. So I don't think that that's really an issue, and I would agree that those should be in there, because then the construction official can review this. If he's got any concerns, he can bring that back to us immediately. We don't have to wait for a resolution. I'm happy to put these plans in immediately. I don't see any reason why we can't get them in within a week of the board acting. We have everything ready to go. We can have Mr. O'Connor out there, and for safety reasons, for the board purposes, we should do that immediately. We would agree to that. I appreciate Mr. Rushke's concerns. I think he's correct.
Mr. Heffley, does that conclude your presentation?
It does, in fact.
Hey, are there any other members of the board that have any questions for this applicant or his attorney, or no? Seeing none?
If I may, just one question in that will there be any weather panels, acrylic curtains or something to be part of this on a wind for the windy days and such?
Yes, they are part of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Heffler, you also received, I guess you have a copy of Mr. Rushke's letter with those.
Yes.
Now, I mean, do you have a
Yep.
problem with any of those?
No, that's why I think I addressed the first two comments already as part of the testimony, and I think the applicant, with regard to the timeframes, we addressed the third comment also. So we're okay. I have no problems with anything in the letter.
Okay. All right, well, seeing no more questions from the board, I guess we'll open this application to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this application?
And could ever who's sharing the screen be so kind as to take it off so I can see everybody again?
Sure.
Thank you. Here we go. Oh
Do we have any, Mr. Tappan?
I don't see any as of yet. I will remind each other that anybody wants to make a comment, please go to the reactions button and raise your hand. Okay, we got a few here. We got one. Colleen, you're up.
Hi, everyone. This is Colleen Lyons from the Lake Hopatcong Commission.
If you're going to be testifying, Colleen, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. The commission sent a letter dated June 14th, 2021. And one of the things that the applicant has requested is a waiver from a stormwater plan. And the commission in their letter through our planner stated that the LHC is not supportive of the applicant's request to waive a stormwater plan. It is the LHC's position that even in situations as this one, it is possible to institute stormwater control measures that will lessen the impact on the lake from locations which were inappropriately developed in times past because we didn't fully understand the damage being done to the lake. So I just would reiterate that the commission does not support this waiver, and I'm wondering if that will be the waiver will be granted. And the other question I had is, does the porch increase the seating of the restaurant, or are they still within the seating requirements?
I can answer both of those. Nothing is changing with regard to the seating requirement. And with regard to the stormwater management plan, I mean, Colleen, I appreciate the comment. We're not changing any impervious coverage, drainage on the site, part of what we're proposing. I understand that, you know, I'm sure the applicant, as anything else around the could voluntarily decide to, you know, make modifications, right? But we are not impacting the lake by anything we're proposing here. Matter of fact, there's no impact. So
would the stormwater plan be a requirement for a variance?
Well, there's no additional impervious coverage. There's no change to the stormwater on the site. So I'm going to leave that to Rushke, but there's no modification.
Okay, I understand that, but knowing what the plan is, you know, it outlines it for the future, and they can start to make those adjustments to improve stormwater on the lake.
I mean, I think that the applicant would continue to try to improve the site. They've been doing it in there. I mean, they're trying to, be good neighbors in terms of improving and dealing with any negative externalities. I mean, it's a good business thriving. We're happy. Well, and I think that has tried to, do everything they can. In terms of, negative impact on the lake, I think that they would continue to strive to improve that. I don't think the stormwater management plan here, considering that there are no impervious coverage modifications whatsoever, makes any sense. So I don't know that we would agree to that unless Mr. Rushke wants us to.
Understood. Thank you for that response. And, the commission also, we've seen this site several times, before the board, and we are happy to see a successful business there. But, we do want to continue to make improvements to stormwater where possible.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ron, is there any other, anybody else who wants to make a comment?
Mr. Commissioner, we have two. Mayor Mode, you're up.
Hi, I'm not testifying. I have a question. Wouldn't there be more stormwater coming off the roof that would be going right into the, it wouldn't be going into the drain? Wouldn't that be more stormwater runoff?
It currently underneath that roof is impervious coverage right now anyway. So that the impervious coverage doesn't change. It's just now it's on a roof instead of on the pavement.
Patio.
Yes, but the water that would have been running down a drain and going where it was supposed to be going is now going off the roof into the impervious coverage. That's my question. So isn't that more stormwater runoff because it's running over the impervious into the lake?
No, because underneath, if I take the roof structure off, we'd still have impervious coverage underneath it, which would be into the lake the same exact way. It's
thank you.
Solid underneath is my.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Ron?
Thank you.
Yes, Chris Heel, you're up.
It's Heil. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the name.
Yep, no, I get it. 262 Lakeside Avenue, I will be testifying.
Please raise your right hand, Mr. Heil. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, thank you. I have questions for the owner, Mr. Duran. Hopefully he can hear me. I hear that you're going to be leaving the rest of the structure.
Can you repeat that again, please?
I hear you will be taking, or it seems that you'll be taking the clear panels off the top. Will you be leaving the rest of the structure?
Thinking about it while we're having this meeting, I think by the times that we are talking November 1st, we might be taking everything down and proposing something for next season, with the township.
Okay, and I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit there, but is that part of the application that you're taking everything down that wasn't prior approved?
No, it's the part of the application is a temporary. So being temporary, I think I would be okay with agreeing to taking everything by in the
Carlos,
winter.
Let's be clear on when you take everything down. What you're talking about is the roof structure and the plastic panels. There's no reason to take the wood superstructure down. I mean, you're taking down the polycarbonate roof and the plastic side panels, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
Okay, well, that's not what I asked. So it's really not temporary. Okay. So by having the roof up, will that allow more or fewer patrons during, say, a rain?
Their occupancy limit stays the same. Nothing they're doing is going to change the occupancy limits that were subject to prior approvals. The deck itself isn't being expanded, so the number of...
The question is regarding, he operates the business, so I'm wondering if he would have more or fewer patrons during a rain with the cover. Would he have more or fewer? That's what I'm asking.
It's the same.
So if you didn't have the cover, you think it's likely that people would be out on the deck in the rain?
Yeah, because we'll have umbrellas.
Okay, so the roof really then is not necessary.
What is the difference?
The difference is that the umbrellas, they're not safe. There's wind coming by, and they knock them down. Somebody could get hit by it. That is the safety is the difference there. We want to.
They have umbrella bases. Are you aware that they have heavy umbrella bases, or they have commercial grade umbrellas?
We've tried that. Being that's on a second floor, I guess there's more wind gusts. It's not safe. We had that when we first opened the restaurant. We tried to tie them down, have cement structures, put them down, and the wind breaks them, makes it really unsafe.
Okay, and if you don't, so you have a safety problem. So if you don't have umbrellas, since you say that's a safety issue, and it's raining or adverse weather, would you have, now without umbrellas, more patrons?
If we don't have the roof, we will have umbrellas.
Okay, so you do have an alternative then? Okay.
He has an
And are
he has an occupancy limit one way or another, whether they're on the deck or in the building. He can only have so many patrons on the premises.
Well, no, he can only have so many seats. He has plenty of patrons over the 130 on the premises. That I can assure you. So that's not correct. On the side currently, are there screens or plastic on the side currently?
Currently on the side, yes.
What is it, screens or plastic?
It's a acrylic, a light acrylic.
Okay, so, all right, so we're calling this, this is basically an enclosure, right?
No, it's not an enclosure.
There's sides and there's a roof, but you're saying it's not an enclosure.
I don't see like a total enclosure, no.
Okay.
So let me try to clarify here because I want to understand it properly. So the side panels, Carlos, those clear plastic panels, those are removable, right?
Yeah, and I could remove them anytime. You know, if there's a problem with that, I could.
So,
one of the reasons why we left them there is because the wind blows like the napkins, and it was going to the neighbor's house. So we left them on there, so you know we don't have garbage going towards the neighbors. You know, not garbage. It's very minimum, but you know it has happened. You know, people are eating, the napkins get blown to the neighbors, so we left them on there for that. But if there's a problem, we can take them off immediately.
Okay.
Mr. Heffley, to be clear, because I think it's become confusing, the acrylic panels we're talking about only go to the banisters, or only go to the railings, rather. Is that right? The acrylic panels don't go all the way up to the roof structure.
That's correct.
Okay, so from those railings up is open on all sides of this deck, right? Except where it butts up against the restaurant.
No, I don't think that's. No, that's.
The ends are open and the front is open.
No, that's not. That's. I don't think. Carlos, just explain how the side panels, what they're doing.
What they're doing, or how are they located?
No, do the side panels. I mean, you have the roof on there, and then you have side panels that have up or down, depending on whether it's raining, whatever. But these panels that are on the side, they run up to the roof or not?
To the temporary roof, yes, they are. From top to bottom, yes.
That's different than what the architect said, Mr. Heffley.
Okay, then that's correction. Those they run to the roof structure. Based on
lakeside, do they run the roof structure on the lakeside?
No.
Carlos, let's just be clear on this. Carlos, just look at me for the plastic panels. Do they run up to the roof structure on all sides of the roof, or is it
just left and right, but not to the lakeside?
Okay. Not to the lakeside. Okay. The answer is they run to the surface on the to the roof on the sides, but out to the lake. Okay, that's good. That clarifies.
Okay. As part of this application, are you modifying the existing sign?
No, we're not modifying the sign.
Okay, so the sign's not part of the application, even though I saw it on the plans.
That's correct. The sign, we're going to address the sign, though, as part of our valet application to be coming.
Okay, so that's not on that. So whatever's
not part of it is the answer.
Okay, so it's really only what was testified to. So,
right.
Okay. All right, well, I mean, I'll give you my testimony that, you know, I think the structure that's there right now is ugly. I think I think having a roof structure and I think having these sides that are proposed is going to, currently, the way it is now with the side structure and the roof, they don't have enough parking and they've created parking problems and they're a nuisance to the neighbors. So, Mr. Heffley, you commented that your client wants to be a good neighbor. Your client is a horrible neighbor. Okay, maybe you'll hear more testimony on that later, but they don't have enough parking for what's existing And I think to say that keeping a roof that they've had for the last year and keeping size is only going to expand their customer base or keep it where it is. And I think that's a big negative criteria. Okay. Right now they have their employees, who I guess you call them security, and they're parking in the park next door. The customers park and block driveways. They park in my front yard, in the landscaping. And I think Mr. Donegan, I provided photos.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're going way past the application part of this.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
I disagree because you're you're expanding the use from the prior approval. So this is additional space that's going to have people are not going to be pulling in a boat in November, but they're going to be in this place under a roof. You know they're going to have heaters. This place is beyond capacity, and you're basically giving them. They did this stuff illegally without permits and without your approval, and you're rubber stamping what they did. Okay, and this place is a blight on the neighborhood, and you're rubber stamping that.
Mr. Heil,
over capacity.
That's not a fair statement that this board is rubber stamping, because this is going to, and we had a lot of discussion on this point. This is
if it passes, it's a rubber stamp.
No, that is not true. This
it is true.
By the building inspector, and yet Fran put this up. It wasn't aware of the permit for it, but now he's trying to correct the situation. We've made a legitimate the board. We've submitted.
So what's the hardship? How does this better? How does this better the community? This does not. There's negatives and there's no positive criteria.
Okay, that's it, Bobby. Reel it in.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Heil.
This is a debate now. This is not a testimony. This is a debate.
All right. Is there anybody else, Ron?
No. I don't see anything.
All right. Well, seeing none, we have none?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. And what is the pleasure of the board?
I make the motion that we approve the application upon the application of a certified building permit and with all the appropriate architectural drawings that will meet the statutory requirements of the UCC codes, and a permit is issued and inspection thereafter.
And the removal of the polycarbonate panels during the 4-month period of the winter time.
Absolutely, Anthony. Very good.
From November 1st to March 31st, they have to be removed.
Is that the board's intent?
We have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll call a roll.
Mr. Duncan?
No.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
No.
No.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Tappan?
Yes.
Mr. Haggerty, do I call the alternates?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Salvaggio?
Is that a yes?
Yes. Yes. I got 5 affirmative votes actually for the last 2 alternates, which is fine. Again, to the applicant, Mr. Heffley, you're on borrowed time here. You're operating without a zoning permit and without construction permitting. And as the board indicated, we're not an enforcement board. We can't initiate the enforcement. We can't stop the enforcement, but you better hurry. I can't.
Mr. Anticipate architectural plan
this weekend.
Yep, I anticipate the architectural plans and the permit application before the end of the week.
May I ask then that officially the memorialization is going to be waived?
Yes. We have a motion to waive the memorialization. We have a request. Do we have a motion?
I don't think we should. We should get this into Bill O'Connor and let the resolution be written.
The only way they can go to Bill O'Connor is if we waive the resolution. Otherwise, we're going to lose a month.
All right.
All right, so do we have a motion to waive?
A motion to waive.
The motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it again.
Motion is second, call roll.
Mr. Bongiovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock? Oh, sorry, you voted no. Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Toppin?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Bellagio?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you for your time and good luck with your project.
Chairman and board members, good evening.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, the next application is a new application. It's J. Ante Wilfong, Block 40304, Lot 15, 116 Wellesley Trail. The applicant would like to build a new single-family home on a vacant lot. Is Mr. Wilfong here?
Hi, my name's Vincent Galgano, and I'm the application, kind of representing Javante.
What is your relationship to the applicant?
Family friend. Javante's
You're not an attorney. That doesn't work. That does not work at all.
So
He
the
told
applicant,
me who was the contract purchaser.
I'm the applicant's engineer. I'm available to speak.
Okay, do we have the applicant here?
He is not on this call.
On the
Where's the
application, I fill out the information to I guess to represent Javante.
Mr. Wilfong signed that portion of the application that gave Mr. Galgano permission to run it.
Okay, all right.
okay, all right. I guess we'll have to proceed. Are you, who's giving testimony here?
I will be David Fantina, the engineer.
Okay. Bill, do you have to swear the applicant and the engineer?
Sure, let's swear Mr. Fantina in. Mr. Fantina, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you've testified before this board in the past, I think, right?
I have. It's been a while, but I have several times.
Yeah. Okay. And then does the board accept Mr. Fantina as an expert in architecture?
Yes.
Engineering.
Oh, engineering.
Yeah, not architecture.
Sorry.
Okay, well, who's presenting this application here? You, Mr. Fantina?
I am, yes. And I'll
Okay.
share my screen with the board's permission.
Go ahead.
Okay, this application is in many ways quite simple. The property's at 116 Wesley Trail, and what we have is it's a vacant lot. We're proposing a single-family house. The house will comply with all of the setbacks and all of the bulk requirements. And the reason we're before you simply is because the existing property is undersized. The R1 zone requires 15,000 square feet, whereas this lot is 11,999. And the minimum lot width is 150 feet required, and we only have 120 feet. That being said, as I indicated just a moment ago, the proposed building does meet all of the requirements. The property itself is somewhat unique in that it's lower than the road, and it's lower than all the adjoining properties. It's actually
Small.
or a bowl. And that's maybe a little bit challenging, but we have put together a grading plan for a 3-bedroom house and a septic system, well, the crawl space underneath the house. This is essentially the same house that the applicant is presently constructing about 6 or 7 properties down the road at 16 Vassar Trail. So he has experience with this house and with this neighborhood. There's really nothing else unusual about the property. We did receive a review letter from Mr. Rushton dated June 30th, 2021. He had a number of technical items. We take no exception to any of them. essentially, he's asked for some additional landscaping plan, additional grading information, information that we show that the dry well, that the soils are appropriate for the dry well. We have done testing on the property in a number of locations, mainly for the septic system, but we have testing in the dry well area as well. He also questions the lighting. There will be no lighting on the site other than normal building mounted architectural lights. We're not proposing any other lighting on this property. We have submitted plans to the Soil Conservation District, and we've also submitted plans to the Sussex County Health Department. So we think we have all of our ducks in a row, and really that's all that I have in direct testimony.
Okay.
Danielle, were the NASH letters provided?
Yes, they were.
Sorry, yes, they were.
And did we receive any responses?
No.
Any members of the board have any questions for this applicant?
Why are they not getting us?
Just from the lot size, how does this lot compare with the lots in the same neighborhood? Do you have the plan,
I don't have a
Bigger house.
I don't have a tax map here, but the lots immediately to the, let me get my bearings here. The two lots immediately adjacent to us are smaller than this lot. They're not as wide and not as big. Those would be the lots on Wesley Trail to the east or to the right, as you look at the plan. Other lots in the neighborhood are probably equivalent size to this lot.
So this lot is basically twice the size of everybody around you. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's the size of several of the houses, or several of the lots around us.
And the only variance you need is you're shy on the square footage of the lot, correct?
And the width.
And the width, okay.
But what about the water and the flooding? Do you not see my hand? Now do they see us?
We got into the public yet.
I don't think we're there yet. We're not to you yet, ma'am.
Yeah, Michelle,
Okay.
could you mute yourself? You're not supposed to be talking yet. Thank you.
I got you. No.
All right, so looking at the plan, you're not going to be discharging any water onto, you're basically you're the low spot in the area, correct?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I said that we're the lowest. And that does present a drainage issue for us because we have to reduce the amount of runoff and exiting the lot. In this case, that's zero. So we have to make sure that no runoff exits the lot under proposed conditions. And we've attempted to do that. I believe Mr. Rushke's letter indicates that he wants a little more information, but that's what this plan is doing.
Okay, John, you have any major concerns with this project?
Yeah, this is just a very difficult lot. It's basically a hole that water flows into, and the grading I think is very poorly done, to be frank. You're directing all the water towards the septic system. We don't approve the septic system, but I hope the health department would never approve a system like this, where basically, he's directing all the water onto the septic system. And, I'm just concerned that, is he properly taking account for all the water that's running onto this property, which he is diverting the water over to lot 13, because basically he's filling the hole and pushing that water to another location. So, he did install a dry well, but he really didn't look at, is this going to be more of a regional effect on impacting an adjoining neighbor? I look at this, and this just reminds me of a lot that was approved over on Coolidge, and I raised the same concerns regarding, this is a hole, it's in the orientation of the drainage, it is going to impact the septic, and they had the same problem over there, and we just had to say, well, you got to go directed them to the health department because they approved the septic, but this does not look like a good design for this lot. And again, I'm concerned about water being pushed onto lot 13.
As far as that's concerned, you know, I have a lot of experience with Mr. Rushkin. I certainly respect his opinion on this. We would certainly be happy to work with his office to rectify what he considers any inconsistencies with this design. As I said, the end result here is that we have to keep the water on the. I agree that we don't want to send it to our septic system, but no, we can't send it off the property. So we're happy to satisfy Mr. Rushke with his drainage concerns. Being that this is a very difficult lot, I agree with him in that regard.
How do you plan to do that?
Essentially what we do is, you know, we don't have a basement here, and there's a reason we don't have a basement. Because in places water is going to sit up against the foundation. This lot is a difficult lot. Without regulation, you know, if this lot was built 100 years ago, somebody probably would have trucked in all kinds of fill and drained it out to the street or drained onto the neighbors. Environmentally, that's not appropriate anymore. I think that's a good thing. We have to take care of the water here. What we've done is added some low areas in different places where water will pond and then seep into the ground. The perk in this area is quite good. That's why there's not water on the lot now, even though it's a hole. We do have a dry well, but that's only a part of the stormwater management system. We anticipate that the water is going to settle into some low areas on the lot and seep into the ground.
Do you have any questions of the applicant from any of the board members? Any other questions?
I do. Lot 13, is you showing that currently there's a dwelling there?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further questions of the applicant or his engineer?
Is there a house on lot 17?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was out there today, and it's a bowl. I mean, he's definitely taking everybody's water, not only his own. So it's a difficult site, but
It is. He needs to build a boat.
yeah, well,
It's a difficult site. You're all correct on that.
Right,
The main concern is certainly you have a right to develop the property, but you don't have a right to impact your neighbors. And that's what's key. We just need to make sure that this is developed properly.
Right. Absolutely, and that's what we're attempting to do. Mr. Rushke's indicated that I believe some water is getting onto lot 13. That's not acceptable because it doesn't get there today. So we're certainly going to work with him to rectify that.
all right. So, Mr. Fantini, you're in agreement that you will comply with Mr. Rushke's letter, all the technical review.
Yes.
All right, there's no more questions of the applicant or the engineer? No? All right, seeing none, I'll open it to the public. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this application?
Ms. Thomas, you're up.
Hi, I'm Larry Riker. I'm in lot 13. I'm a little concerned with them being by my well because you need to be 100 foot away from my well. And I also about the water.
Hold on. Let me slow you down for a second. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Shall I too, sir? Because I'm here with him. We're together, and I'm a neighbor.
Okay. Please raise your right hand as well. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
We have Larry Riker, and I take it you're the owner of lot 13.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
And we have who is the other young lady?
Michelle Thomas. I'm a co-owner of lot 15.
Okay.
And my mom owns the other half. She's in Kentucky, so it's basically my house.
Understood. I'm sorry, Mr. Riker, I interrupted you. You were talking about the well.
I was talking about the well because my sleeve's 46 feet, and I know the law is like 52 feet or something, and you have to be 100 feet. And, and I don't think they're going to be 100 feet, and that's a big concern. And also, basically, the water coming from that property over onto me, I don't have a problem right now. And if you backfill that, I'm afraid that I might.
Mr. Wicker, in the second part of that, you heard what we said and what Mr. Rushke, who's in his capacity as borough engineer looking out for your rights, we're going to make sure that water does not get onto your property from ours.
Okay. I appreciate that.
As far as the well is concerned, and I think I met you when we were out there doing the perk testing. Your well will be 56 feet from the septic system. The records we had indicated that there was 50 feet of casing in your well, and we provided that to the health.
No, I don't have 50 feet. I have 46 feet. I have 46 feet. 46, sir.
You should make sure the health department knows that.
I called them and they told me that you got to be 100 feet away from my well. They're well aware of that.
Certainly, this application is subject to the Sussex County Health Department, so we'll work that out. But I'll contact you.
I spoke to those people already, and I told him my situation, so he knows that. He said, "Yeah, it's got to be 100 feet. If it's 50, then you can stay, 50. But I'm not 50 feet. I'm only 46 feet in the casing, and that's a concern to me. Also, the amount of water that's going to come off of that property onto me is a big concern, and also the size of the house. That's a big house for our area. You're shoving that between two little houses here. So, and I got two existing houses in back of me that block me out and block my sunlight now. Now I got to deal with another house on the side of me. Sorry, but I'm not a fan of it. But I'm not the one to make the decision. So.
My concern also as well, they're building homes further up the street, additional same size as this home, and our homes are now going to be taxed on our clean drinking water because you're adding 4 houses with 3 bedrooms in it. So we could get anywhere from 6 to 12 people in those homes. Our water comes from that direction. My neighbor to the right of me has a sub pump because the water underneath comes up into his yard. So if they divert all this water, he may get flooded as well. I fortunately sit up very high. So my concerns are my well, the use of my well water being taken away from me because all these homes being put in. And then they may flood me if they decide to divert the water to wherever. And that lot does not, I don't know how they perked it because when it rains, the water sits there for days. It's Mosquito City down here because of that. And the swamp behind us. So it's just a question of all this excessive water taking, using, septic systems being by our wells. So we're a little concerned of the size of the house, not just where's all the water going to go that is in that lot right now.
As far as the
Not
house
to mention
size,
the wildlife.
as far as the house size is concerned, we're not requesting any variance for impervious coverage or FAR or anything of that nature. So the house is within what's required by the zoning.
But if they're building a house on an undersized lot, then the house is obviously too big for the lot. So how could it be acceptable if they are claiming it's an undersized lot to build this house on?
Ma'am, what I'm saying is that it meets all of the setbacks, and that we're not requesting side yard, front yard, rear yard setback, impervious coverage variance, floor area ratio. That's why I'm saying it fits on the lot.
The water issue. And then it's saying on here, he wants to know if we want to sell our lots to him at fair marketable price, but he's claiming a hardship because he can't sell the lot at fair marketable price, but he'd like us to buy it from him from fair marketable price. So a lot of things are going on here that it just seems a little sketchy. He did tell Larry he owns part of my driveway and he doesn't. So it's just not been a good thing since day one with them. And I didn't see any markers or zoning markers for the property, and they did a thing across the street, a lot across the street was perked or something done there, but we haven't seen anything done on this lot.
I have a question for Mr. Fantino. Is there any wetlands work done on this property?
Yes, John Peel, the applicant's environmental expert, did analyze the property and indicate wetlands affecting the property. Across the street, but the buffers do not reach our disturbance, according to Mr. Peel.
Are there any other?
Where's lot 15? I see 13 and 17. Where's 15?
Here's 17.
15, I'm next, second to the last house before Main Street.
Are you on the corner? Are you on the bend? Is that where you are?
I'm not the corner house, I'm the next one.
I think her property, correct me if I'm wrong, you're adjacent to this property, is that correct?
I'm right next to it.
Yeah, right to the right. These are the
Oh,
two
it says
property
17.
owners. Yeah, it says 17. These are the two property owners on either side of us.
Okay.
Yeah, you're 17.
Wait a minute.
You're 17.
You're 17, not 15. 15's the property we're talking about.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm reading the paper
15,
wrong.
Yeah, they're 15. 116 we're looking at.
I'm 120.
That was why I believe she indicated that our surveyor showed that the masonry wall on her driveway is actually about a foot or 13 inches onto this property. That's because she's the adjacent property.
But yet, when my septic was in prior to me purchasing the house, my land, I would assume, was surveyed because it has markers on it, and the markers are well beyond my driveway into that lot. And I'm sure that I understand that when I purchased this house from the seller, there was a big hoorah with the septic system here. So I do have the septic system survey. I just don't have it in my hands at the moment.
The only survey that I know of, sir, was back in 1998. I don't see any indication of any marks out here, any new marks at all. They just went off on my pipe in the corner, and that was it.
And I still have a pipe in the corner with the pink tag on it that's well past my driveway marker.
I mean, I'm looking at a survey from Lakeland Surveying that was done in September of 2020. I mean, that does show, the iron pipe, and it shows a portion of her wall is on this property. But I mean, this is a survey.
Again, guys, look at, we got all the septic issues around all these properties are through the county of Sussex that do our health department. They have to approve everything, right? So I think we need to stick to the application, what's in front of us, and let's deal with what's in front. We are completely appreciate what's around this property. We understand it is a difficult property. When we get into septic, that is up to the county health department.
Yeah, the county has to approve all that. They have to make sure that the
let's stick to the application process.
Okay. So, all right. Are there any more? Anyone else wish to comment on this application from the public? You see anyone?
Let me scroll down. If somebody can take that screen off, that would be really nice.
Yeah, we could take that screen off.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. There we go.
I don't see any, Bob.
Okay, closing it to the public. I'll bring it back to the board. It's the pleasure of the board.
No.
John, you don't think that's wetlands in there?
It is wetlands.
I did question it and did require him to get the report from the wetlands expert. The board can require as a condition of approval for him to get an LOI from the DEP to verify that.
I would think nothing less than that, John. We should. This is a difficult property, and if there's wetland implications, I would absolutely want to do that. And I would also want to make sure that we are a lot tight on the specifications, what they're going to do on that lot to meet your approval.
Yeah, my suggestion might be is to have this ask the applicant to carry the application. Let's work out these grading and drainage issues so that to give the opportunity of the neighbor to see what ultimately is going to be proposed, and he can comment on it versus, I'm going to be very stringent, regardless if the board, puts it on my responsibility to do it or it goes back to the board. But I just feel that it does give the opportunity of the public to review the plan in a more advanced state.
I would agree. Does the applicant have a problem with carrying this? Do you get some more input from maybe for an LOI or whatever we need from the DEP?
The drainage plan.
Drainage,
Yeah, we hear the board's concerns, we hear the neighbors' concerns, we hear Mr. Rushke's concerns, and we're happy to alleviate them as best we can. So if that's the board's pleasure, I've been in contact with the applicant. We would carry it for a month. Maybe John. Hold on a second. I'm speaking out of turn here. I thought that was the case. I said we would, but I'm not sure if I'm authorized to say that.
I'd like to know if it's wetlands.
Well, I don't think, John. I don't think in your experience, John, you can't get that in a month, right?
It'll be tight. I think he has a lot of work to do, and I would offer that the town does have aerial topography. It's old, but at least it's good for looking at regional topography and how the water flows. So that is available. So certainly I would suggest that he get a copy of that mapping and serious. He needs to take a serious look at all the amount of water that's flowing to this. And how all that is going to, how all that water is going to be managed. This is not just a matter of, okay, let's install a dry well to mitigate the roof rain, the rain off of the roof. It's looking at what's the amount of water that's coming onto this property and where is it going to go?
Yep.
Are there any storm drains around that property?
That property's in a hole.
That's in a hole. That's the hole.
A hole.
That's the storm drain.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Cantina, we're getting back to this. What is the wish to have this application continued so you can get some more information, or?
And we seek a conditional approval, obviously waiting for you want a letter from the DEP, I guess, to confirm, or a wetlands expert. Obviously that's a concern. The rest, obviously the stuff to comply with Mr. Reschke's plan, obviously with our engineer, and then of course, obviously, the Sussex County Health Department.
I don't know, John. I think I would rather have that in hand before we move forward. That's just my.
Well, it really comes down to with the LOI, if it's a condition of approval and wetlands are found, he's coming back to the board because he's representing there's no wetlands, and the board should revisit the application if in fact the wetlands are present, and the board should know what's going on. So right. He's really at his own risk of proceeding with the board approval and then having to verify that. And like I said, if there are wetlands, he's coming back to the board.
The wetlands.
I actually know John Peel's company, and if John says that there are no wetlands there, I would hang my hat on it. So I would let the applicant take a chance on that one. And if they go to the DEP later on and they get denied, they got to come back, like John Rushke's saying. So the bit about the runoff, that's a whole different story. John, let me ask you a question regarding runoff. Obviously, as both of the neighbors have testified, and also we're assuming that the back lots, all the water runs into this lot. Where does it go now? Doesn't it go into the street and off? It just doesn't sit on the lot and whirlpool down a drain.
Well, it is in a low-lying area. So first, this acts as a detention basin, and I'm sure if it rains heavy enough, it would drain onto Lot 13. It may drain to the road, but it is a large detention area that does accept a lot of water.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question. What is the ramification of water coming off of someone else's lot? Whose problem is that? Because, like, let's look at Lot 5 and Lot 2. You know, if water's coming from those two lots onto this lot, who's responsible for that?
Well, if that's the history of the development, what we're dealing with is a new development here. So we're not going to do anything about those lots coming onto this property unless there's recent development or impervious coverage added to those properties. We're not going to change that. But now we're only dealing with this particular property and trying to, but if this property creates runoff onto other properties as a result of development, then it is this property owner's issue.
And I think, Mr. Schindler, if I could chime in, all of the runoff onto our property, whose problem is it? It's ours at this point. And we need to accept it, and that's what makes our task difficult. That's why John Rushkey looks at this, John, maybe even more stringently than he would otherwise. This is an odd situation. I would say, though, that Mr. Schindler is correct. John Peel is very well regarded. If we had to go to the DEP, it's at our own risk. If the board was to grant conditional approval, that means it's subject to no wetlands, or else we come back to this board. It's subject to the Sussex County Health Department approving our septic as is, or else we come back to this board. It's subject to John Rushkey signing off on the plan. Yes, he's satisfied that we're not affecting any other properties, or else we come back to this board. So really, the risk is ours to a great extent.
Yeah, I believe the board has done that in the past. It has granted that as a conditional approval. So I certainly wouldn't object to having the LOI done, as a condition of approval. But the drainage, I believe the site plan is going to change, significantly enough where it should be going back to the board. It should be the public should have another opportunity to review what is proposed before the board acts.
But it sounds like it should be carried.
Well, that's up to the applicant.
That's up to him.
Mr. Fantina, do you wish to carry this to maybe tie up some of these loose ends with Mr. Rushkey? And
I need to defer that to Mr. Gargano.
I mean, I would like to, if we can, move along with the contingency. I mean, you say you've got a respected wetlands expert, and if we need to get a letter from the state, again, it comes back on us that we should have to come back for an application amendment. And the same with Sussex County Health Department. If they decide that what we're proposing is not sufficient, then we would have to come back to make an amendment.
Who was just talking?
Vincent Galgano.
Were you sworn in?
Oh.
No, you weren't. Mr. Delgado,
No,
please raise your hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give and that you have just given is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if the board approves it, they could have a condition of issuance of an LOI from the DEP, compliance with Mr. Rushkey's report, and if there's any substantial changes in the plans as a result of compliance with the report, the applicant would have to return to the board. You could have those conditions imposed.
So would that be full if he had a return to the board?
I'm sorry.
Would it be that he would have to come back to the board for approval?
Well, if the board approved it conditional upon, but just like any application, if for some reason there's substantial changes in the plan, the applicant does have to come back to the board because the board would be approving what's before it now, and the public would assume that that's what the board approved. So if there's anything other than what we call a field change, it comes back.
What would happen if partially deemed to be wetland?
If it's partially deemed to be wetlands, then he's going to have to probably, depending upon the extent of that, he's going to have to change his plans conceivably and then come back to the board, unless it's a minuscule effect.
Well, it's a whole amount of flex water, so I would like to see this carried, but that's not up to me.
So basically, we have an issue with the DEP, and we have an issue with our engineer concerns about the water circulation or whatever effect this development is going to have currently as to what happens naturally with the water. As I see it, I don't think it's probably going to generate any water more or less than it does now. It's just a matter, if I understand it correctly, what happens to the water that runs on it. And so if our engineer is satisfied with that, and we have a letter from the DEP attesting to the current review of any environmental issue of wetlands, then I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have that contingency in place, because those are the two major issues as I see them.
And the septic.
And the septic.
Septic is not our concern. Septic is a county jurisdiction. If they don't approve it, this application is dead.
Well, same thing with the DEP. So, I mean, you know.
Correct.
Well, exactly.
So when you add them, when you add them three issues onto what we're doing, if it comes back and we satisfy all of them, then he's good to go. Taking it any further or making him come back is not going to change anything like that. If he doesn't meet any of them conditions, it's done. We put that in the resolution. And so those are the three major things. Am I close, Bill?
I agree with you.
I think that's right.
Yep. So
it's a go, no go. The DEP says no, he's done. Except
All right, Tim.
if the council says, if the county says this is bad, he's done. If John Rushke does not agree with his plan on how to manage the stormwater, he's done.
All right, Mr. Pantine, is it you just wish to continue with the application and go to a, you know?
Again, I need to defer that to the owner and his.
Like I said, if we can go with the contingency, I mean, if we get a letter from the DEP that says differently, we have to come back to the board and make an amendment, then we do that. And the same with the Sussex County Health Department. They turn around and don't deem our system acceptable, we would have to make changes. We would then have to come back to have it amended. But in the meantime, if it's possible to be accepted, you know, at this point for everything else so that we can continue on,
And Ron,
we would like to do that.
Ron, we closed it to the public, correct?
That's correct. It's up to us now, Bob.
Okay. All right. What is the pleasure of the board? We'll have a motion, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to move this and have it obviously with the contingency for the, what did we say? The runoff
LOI
with John Rushke and making it through the DEP for their LOI. And I don't think we have to mention the septic because that's up to the county. That really has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call, please.
Bill, just if 1 second. Bill, with the condition of approval, just so that, I guess the condition would be that there would be no change to the stormwater, stormwater patterns or stormwater conditions related to lot 13. So that's the, so it's very clear in the resolution.
It's really going to be conditional upon your review and approval, John. We're throwing it on your shoulders.
And which is fine, and I see that this is maybe a very difficult case with this applicant because I am going to make sure that this is not impacting lot 13, and I just want to make that very clear in the resolution so that it's not a matter of satisfying me, it's a matter of satisfying a condition which I'm going to impose.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call.
You're muted, Danielle.
Roll call, please.
Hate it when that happens.
Working. Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney?
Yes.
Mrs. Crock?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Tappan?
Yes.
Councilman Schindler?
Yes.
Mayor Francis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, we'll see you, well, John will see you when you get all your stuff worked together.
Got it.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, the next application is IAT Reinsurance, Block 31303, Lot 5 and 6, 47 Maxim Drive. The applicant is seeking site plan approval for the expansion of a parking area without prior approval. Variance requested is 242-38D8, maximum lot coverage. Someone here from IAT Reinsurance.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman, I'm gonna recuse on this one because this is a use variance.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also going to recuse myself.
Okay. Okay, IAT, you're up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. William Askin on behalf of the applicant, IAT. From the applicant, my representative, the witness tonight would be Mr. John Wunderlich. In addition to Mr. Wunderlich, I have Mr. John Hanson, who is our expert on the matter. This is my client's application for preliminary and final site plan approval for the expansion of the parking lot for the mixed-use building at the property at 47 Maxim Drive. The property is actually two lots. It's block 31303 and it's lot 4 and lot 6. The variance relief we're seeking is for a couple different things. One is lot coverage of 45%, where 25% is the maximum allowed in the zone, and then variance relief for expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use on the lot. The relief we're seeking is for improvements to the property that were made prior to my client's ownership of the property. My client purchased the property, I think they closed in February this year, and they were not aware at the time that we'll leave it at that, they just were not aware that there was an existing zoning violation. And that zoning violation was for the improvements and expansion of the parking area without a permit being issued for that parking area. So that expansion does require a variance. We have submitted the as-built plans at this point, and kind of at the mercy of the board to approve something that has already been done. So there was also Mr. Donegan brought up an issue with a prior application resolution from, I think it was 2007, where an approval had a condition attached to it that lots 4 and lot 6, the deeds to those lots were updated to contain deed restrictions that those two lots remain in common ownership, and that one of the lots, whichever lot the parking lot is on, I don't know off the top of my head, lot 4, lot 6, be maintained as a parking lot. We're not sure if that was done. It does not appear that there were the deeds, the deed restrictions were ever added to those deeds. I did review that matter that Mr. Donegan brought up with my client prior to the meeting tonight, and we will, if the board is inclined to consider a resolution of approval, we would agree to a condition that that other condition from the prior resolution, if it was not done, that it be added to this resolution of approval if the board is so inclined to grant one, and my clients are amenable to adding those deed restrictions on the two lots to fully conform with the prior resolution of approval on the lot. So, Mr. Haggerty, do you want to swear both witnesses in at the same time, and then we'll get started with them?
Let's do that. Okay.
So, John and John.
Wunderlich, please raise your right hands. You swear that it will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, and who will be testifying first?
Go with Mr. Hanson first, and then Mr. Wunderlich will be available for questions and any additional testimony that might be needed. But John Hanson, if you would outline your site plan, the existing conditions there, and then I just remind the board, I'm sure Mr. Haggerty would do the same, that although we do need a use variance, it is the relaxed standard because it is a pre-existing condition on the property. There is a use variance that was granted on the property, We're simply seeking an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use that has been approved by the board. So the standards are not quite as strict as they are for a D1 use variance. And in this case, I believe we have to further qualify or meet the standards of the negative criteria, but the positive have been met on the prior approval by the board. So, Mr. Hanson, you want to take it away from there?
Mr. Hanson, you're a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey, and you've testified before this board in the past.
Yes, sir. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I'm also a licensed professional planner. I've testified before this board a number of times over the last 20 years, and my licenses are in good standing.
Thank you.
So thank you. I'm going to share a screen here and bring up the record plan that was submitted. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just to start off, this is block 31303, lots 4 and 6. And lot 4, which is the lot on the left, is located in one district. It consists of 0.471 acres. Lot 6, in this location on the right, consists of 0.258 acres. And that's in a different zone. That's in the B1 zone. And so you'll see between the two properties is the flagstaff for lot 5. So lot 5 is a residential lot. The home is built back here in the eastern location, east of the property. And the flagstaff cuts through the middle of the two properties. So the two lots that are the subject of 47 Maxim Drive are not adjacent to each other. There's that right-of-way between it. But if you look at from a practical standpoint, if you're out there, you don't see the flagstaff because this is all paved, basically just an access or a right-of-way for the people of Lot 5 to get through the property and back into their property. So a couple of things to point out. As Mr. Askins said, everything on this property, as you see it here, has already been constructed. So we're not proposing to change the structure. We're not proposing to change the lighting, any of the improvements. Everything here has already been constructed. And it's my understanding from knowing the property and being to the restaurant and so forth that the gravel area has been there for at least a couple of years. And I'd ask Mr. Donegan if he has a better time frame on that, but I think it's been at least that. But anyway, so you know, the structure itself on lot 6, it consists of a 75-seat restaurant and then 2 apartments. One apartment is a 1-bedroom apartment and the other is a 2-bedroom apartment. The property is served by septic system, which is located in the rear or the east of the dwelling. And there's a well that serves the property that's located in the northwesterly corner. So currently, well, let me just take a step back for a minute. There's really no site lighting on the site, and we're not, like I said, not proposing to change anything, and there's really no landscaping on the site either. But to note, the property of lot 4 does have extensive vegetation that surrounds the subject gravel parking area on 3 sides. And there's also some bedrock outcrops here that pop up throughout this area here. A couple other things to note, and it was in Mr. Rushke's letter, so I just wanted to testify to it. Most of the mechanical equipment for the restaurant is located on the north side of the building. There's a pad in this location over here that has the solid waste and recycling area. There's also some propane tanks that serve the building. And then the access to the building is primarily on the north side. Every time I've been to the restaurant, you come in on the north side. There is an access over on the west side of the structure too, but primarily people access from this side. Currently, the site is 1 space deficient with respect to parking. When you look at it from a pre-existing standpoint, if you don't include the gravel parking space that's there. So we have 29 spaces pre-existing for the restaurant where 30 spaces are required per your ordinance. And the other thing to point out is that if you'll notice, these 9x18 stalls that have been put on here, which is your industry standard essentially for a parking stall, you can see that the distance between the stalls or the drive aisles varies. So in here you have areas that are much more than 24 feet, which is what your general two-way drive aisle is for backup purposes. And then it necks down to something much less than that. And the areas in the back of the gravel parking area behind the restaurant also is substandard with respect to, how the driveway aisle lays out. And I say that because I think what's important to note is that the subject area, the gravel parking area that was constructed, even though it was constructed without approvals, they did so in a manner that was much more conventional type of parking. So if you lay out the 5 stalls that can exist on that parking area, the distance behind them is a much more conventional back out and two-way area. It's essentially a 24-foot wide area. And I think that's important because what that's enabled to do not only is to provide additional parking for the commercial restaurant, which now would slightly exceed the standard and bring it into compliance with the number of parking stalls, but what it also does is allows parking that is in this location or this location to have a better chance to safely turn around and then travel in a southerly direction head on to exit the restaurant. So currently, or well, I should say in a pre-existing condition, stalls which are somewhat angled would have to essentially back out against traffic and then pull back out onto the county road, which is Maxim Drive. So although it was done without approvals, I think it's important to note that it was done in somewhat of a conventional manner, and it really does add an element of safety to the site. Other than that, a couple of things to point out is the gravel parking area is 2,066 square feet. It's constructed of gravel with railroad tie edges. And we did take a look at the site to see if there was any type of wetlands or transition areas. We looked at the DEP website, and it's void of any of those constraints. The lake is about 360 feet from here, so there's no riparian buffers and or that kind of thing. So essentially, what we're asking for is relatively simple. Again, there's no new construction proposed as part of this approval. We're asking for the board to approve what was previously constructed. And so we need 2 variances for that. One is a impervious coverage variance for lot 4. The R1 zone allows 25% maximum, 35% current pre-exists before the gravel parking area was constructed. And now after the parking area constructed, the impervious coverage total on lot 4 is 45%. So we're asking for a deviation there. That's a C variance, and we feel that would be a C2 variance. And then the other is the expansion of the non-conforming use, which would be called a D2 variance. And in that case, the positive and the negative criteria for that type of variance. The positive criteria is to find that there are special reasons that exist that if the board granted this would be advanced as part of the approval. That's the positive criteria. And the negative criteria is the same as it is with all variances, as you know, in that the board must find, the applicant must demonstrate substantial detriment to the public good, the zone plan, or the zoning ordinance. And again, the key is substantial because every variance has some minor detriments to it, but it doesn't rise to the level of substantial, then it's approvable by the board. And so I think what really is the overriding thing here on both the C2 positive criteria and the D2 is that there's an element of safety here that this allows. It not only allows the cars additional parking and maneuverability, but it allows the pre-existing parking area to really be more useful parking area and a more safe parking area. And so as far as the negative criteria is concerned, I've been out to the site many times. I haven't witnessed any erosion. I haven't witnessed any excessive runoff. So I believe from a public good standpoint, there's no substantial detriment. From a zone plan and zoning ordinance standpoint, I think also there's no substantial detriment. think these are minor detriments that the board can feel comfortable approving. So why don't I stop there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board or the board professionals may have.
John, this is Ron. Gravel, does that count as impervious coverage?
No.
Okay.
Are you asking me or John Rushke?
John Rushke.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. We don't, our definition does not count it as impervious.
So they don't need that one.
Variance.
Yeah. It's not impervious coverage. It's gravel.
Right.
Not impervious coverage.
Bill, would you agree?
Absolutely.
Bill Donegan?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
That takes care of one.
All right, are there any other questions from the board members of the applicant?
Where are your handicap spots?
The handicap spots, ma'am, are located, there's 2 handicap stalls in the front of the building, which is the west side of the building. If you can see my cursor, L shape of the building there's one there and then one directly next to it.
Where they were before?
Yeah, where they are, the existing. Yeah, the blue striped spaces.
Yeah, I know what they look like. Thank you. But
All right, so
that's
nothing's
where
changed.
they were there previously, so you're not adding any new spots.
We're
Correct?
not adding any additional spots, correct?
Okay.
Basically, nothing's changing. I mean, what we've seen for the last 5 or 10 years is basically the same as we're going to continue to see, correct?
That's correct.
All right, is there any other? Go ahead, Judy.
I said just the name has been changed
Yeah.
over the years.
All right, any more questions of this applicant from board members? All right.
When are they going to open?
Seeing none, I'm going to open it to the public. Is there anybody from the public that wish to comment? On this? Raise your hand.
Yes, we have one. Peter, you're up.
Yeah.
Peter, hello. Hello, my name is Peter Lamia Leander. I am occupant at 35 King Avenue, Lot 5 on Mr. Hanson's.
Peter, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And spell your last name, Peter?
Lima Alpha Mike India Alpha Dash Lima India Alpha November Delta Echo Romeo.
Okay.
My concerns actually brings up the what was brought up during the last discussion from the Lot 15 drainage. That runoff is the issue on the lot that added the impervious coverage because my parents' lot at Lot 5 does have a runoff issue from the establishment above us. So,
is there a specific question, sir?
Yeah. Is there any issue of because we're currently having a runoff issue from the establishment? Is there any way of having a flood mitigation, stormwater runoff mitigation?
Well, I looked at that, and because the property is graded as it's been graded for many, many years, the water does flow down and flows down that right of way on Lot 5, like you mentioned. I don't believe that we'll be able to change the direction of flow because it's been developed that way for so long. And the other thing that's important to note here is that this knoll where the gravel parking area is on is essentially a bedrock area. So even though that gravel was put there, I don't believe there was much stormwater absorption even before that gravel area was there due to the bedrock. So there may be some minor things that we could do to, move the water around. I don't think there's really much that we can do to change the path of flow there.
Okay, but to confirm with what was brought up with the previous discussion, that the runoff issue is on the lot where it's coming from.
Correct. And well, the runoff I think that you're experiencing on Lot 5 has been that way since the property was developed and the pre-existing parking lot, the paved parking lot was developed many, many years ago.
Yes, and from my understanding, there has been talks with those previous owners that have fallen through on trying to fix this stormwater runoff issue.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a solution to change the direction of runoff to Lot 5, if that's the question. Unfortunately, I just don't believe that there's something to do there.
All right, and I just want to get confirmation. What is the Flagstaff that you mentioned earlier?
Flagstaff is this long, narrow right-of-way here. So the way I understand Lot 5 is this is what we would call a flag lot, and this portion would be where your house is what we call the flag part of the flag lot, and then this would be the staff. You know, so it's essentially it's shaped like a flag.
All right, so essentially it's an easement access to Lot 5.
Yeah, and I think in this case, though, it looks like it's actually your flag staff is not just an easement; it's part of the tax lot.
It's part of Lot 5.
Oh, that's new. That's good information to know now. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else from the public wish to comment on this application? If you put your hand up,
Peter
please.
Lanier? You're up.
Hi. Yes, hello. Number 5.
This where the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And your name, sir?
Peter Leander, Liander. My wife and I are the owners of Lot 29, which is downhill from the properties in question. And whenever we have a nice heavy rainstorm, the water comes onto my lot. And that's number one. I understand the questions that, the answer that was given you, that, it's been there so long, nothing can be done about it. But the water's coming down from the road. It's crossing the property and it's entering my property. It's also entering the properties adjacent to me. And another point I'd like to bring out, you're supposed to notify that everybody within the area was supposed to be notified, yet lot number 1 of block 31303 was not notified. And if you look on your list of notifications, lot number 1 was not notified. And I don't know why that was.
Well, the applicant contacts the tax assessor and asks for a list. Sometimes the tax assessor may get it right, and most of the time the tax assessor does get it right. If the tax assessor missed a property, the applicant still relies on that list, and the applicant's authorized to do that. If there was a mistake and not included on the list, then it's not attributable to the applicant.
Okay, well, anyway, it's lot number 1 that's experienced the most damage from the runoff. And I'd like to know if there's any way of diverting the water coming off the road through that flagstaff, as it's called. Because that's where it's coming from. It's coming down from the road, and it's coming onto other people's property. And there's a solution to it. If you go out on Maxim Drive, there are 2 storm drains further down. But the water is coming down the road and entering the parking lot through this flagstaff, through this easement, whatever you want to call it.
Well, the one thing that I'd like to point out is that, let me just share the screen again. There is a lip on Maxim Drive here that prevents the water from Maxim Drive actually going down here.
It doesn't prevent it, because I've seen it. I've actually witnessed the water, cresting that lift and going right down the driveway.
Okay, well,
it's not high enough.
Okay, well, there may be something to do, or we can talk to the county to see if we can make some modifications there. It's a possibility.
When I talked to the town about it, they said it was a county problem. When I talked to the county, they said it was a town problem.
Well, it's a county road. Maxim Drive is certainly a county road.
Yes. So, again, If you go further down Maxim Drive towards Lyons Avenue, you'll see 2 storm drains. And I think it was just a simple matter of digging a little bit of a trench, covering it over with with some proper covering. And so the water would go down into those drains, would be directed down to those 2 storm drains, because they're obviously going into the lake from there. All right, and I have another question when we're finished with this. I mean, you bring it up to whoever can make an adjustment, but I'm telling you, every time there's a heavy rainstorm, the water goes right down that flagstaff, right on to the corner of my property, and it goes on to the corners of the other properties on lots 1, 2, and 3. All right. And my second question, on lot 6, is that gravel parking area, is that a leaching field or is that holding tanks?
That is a combination of septic tanks and seepage pits. So the septic tanks, remove the solids, and then the seepage tanks take the effluent.
So they're not, it's not a leaching field then?
It's not a kind of leaching field like a bed. It's a leaching field of tanks.
Leaching field of tanks, so that's why you can have parking on there then?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I can add to this.
Okay, Ron, is there anybody else that wishes to comment on this?
Yeah, hold on. There was another. Hold on. If you can remove your screen.
Can we take that screen down?
Sure, give me 1 second.
Yeah, Ken, you're up?
Yes,
There you
I'm
go.
here.
Go ahead, you're up.
Go ahead, Ken.
All right. I guess you got to swear me in, right?
I'd do that. Please raise your right hand. Testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Sir.
For the record, my name's Kenneth Insco, I-N-S-C-O. And I own lots 2 and 3. I'd just like to kind of reiterate what Peter just said. The water problem, as I've seen it, is not from the gravel lot. It's coming across Maxim Road, coming across the parking lot, along the property lines for 2, 3, down to 5, and there's some major erosion down the hill, leaving at times 2 inches of mud at the intersection of Lines and King. So the erosion's enough that it's washing all the way into the lake and taking a lot of dirt, rocks with it. I don't know if there's anything that can be done, but should be aware of it. There has to be some way to divert that water as it goes into the parking lot for the establishment.
Okay. All right. Ron, anybody else from the public want to comment on this?
That's it.
I don't see anybody.
All right, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the board. Mr. Hanson, I think you could probably maybe address the lip on the on the county road with the county. Maybe try to do something like that to keep the water from. Because I have seen the water go over that lip and go down the parking lot personally. So it does happen.
Yeah, we can contact the county and talk to them about it and see if there's something that we can do there.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for a and what's your pleasure here?
I'd like to know when it opens.
We don't know
I
yet.
like that place. That's a nice place.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner from me.
Not a great time to be opening a restaurant right now.
No. Okay, do we have any motion one way or another?
I approve it. I'll vote to approve it as planned. Along with looking into the county for trying to solve a drainage problem, which they aren't causing. But, it's nice that they can go ahead and try to solve it.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Yep, conditions will include the compliance with the conditions of the prior resolutions. Mr. Askins alluded to that, and we'll make sure that it may have been done, but we'll make sure it is done.
Okay. Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the zoning officer report. Bill, do we have anything?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, good. Discussion? No discussion? Okay, we'll move on to the resolutions. I guess we'll take them one at a time, right, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, resolution is NVS
Yeah,
LLC. We have a motion to, we have a motion to approve that resolution.
Motion. Motion to approve.
Hi, Peter.
Motion and a second. All right, call a roll, please.
Who is the second? I missed that.
Was it Ron?
I made the motion.
Who's the
I'll
second?
second it.
All right, Mark's the second.
Mark.
Mr. Duncan,
Same.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Yeah. Okay, the second resolution is LB Properties Holding LLC. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
A motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Bill seconded it. Call a roll, please.
Mr. Duncan,
Abstain.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Yes.
Okay, we have one more resolution for William Ray. I'll have to abstain on this one, but we have a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Duncan,
Abstain.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Yes. Okay, we have one more, Marcia Light. Motion is in order to approve the light resolution granting variances permitting a deck, pavers, and shed installed by a prior owner at 42 West River 6. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Mr. Duncan,
Abstain.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Mrs. Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is correspondence. Bill, do we have to do anything with these, or they just for,
No,
no? Okay.
no, action.
Okay, next item is escrow refunds. We have 104 Santa Clara Trail. Do I have a motion to, we
Nope,
need
that's
anything?
just for information.
Okay.
Nope, move on to
Okay.
bills.
So, okay. Next item is the bills. Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
Motion.
We have a motion? Second?
Second.
Mr. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Gaffney,
Yes.
Crock,
Yes.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mr. Toppin,
Yes.
Councilman Schindler,
Yes.
Mayor Francis.
Okay, the meeting, at this time, the meeting is open to the public. Anybody from the public wish to address the land use board? Now's your time. See anybody, Ron?
Hold on here. We got a couple that, one just came in. Give it 2 seconds. Yeah, no, nothing here.
Okay, we'll close it to the public. Any old business? No old business?
ID?
Next meeting.
Next meeting, okay. New business? Any new business? No? Seeing none? Okay, Judy, we're waiting for you now.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Okay,
Yes.
we're adjourned. Thank you.
Night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Everybody, good night.